I am Sophia. I am 66. My knees talk to me when I stand, and my hands don't like cold weather anymore, but they still remember how to knead bread, braid a child's hair, and hold a fevered face until a bad dream lets go. I raised 2 children, Daniel and Elena, mostly alone. My husband, Jorge, was the kind of man who whistled when he fixed things and always kept a pencil behind his ear. A truck took him on a rainy night, and a phone call finished the job. After that, our house learned a new kind of quiet, the kind you fight every day with light, with soup, with the sound of your children breathing down the hallway. There is a rhythm to survival. I woke at 4, walked to the bakery in the dark, and pushed open the door with my hip because my hands were already full of flour and hope. The ovens warmed my bones like sun. I learned the song of the mixer, the scrape of the dough hook, the sigh a good loaf makes when it is done. Customers called me dear and mama, and sometimes mom. I took the money home, lined up the bills, and made them stretch like elastic over shoes, field trips, and the unseen cost of grief. Daniel was 15 when his father died. He tried to be a wall and a window at the same time. He got a job at the car wash, saved for a used car with a dented door, and learned to change his own oil. He had her hands, strong and quiet, and my stubbornness. Elena was 12. She had hair that caught the sun and a soft heart that bruised like fruit. She left me sticky note love letters on the fridge. Drink water. I warmed the soup for you. We will be okay. That last one stayed taped inside our pantry door for years. A small promise hiding between rice and beans. We did not have much, but we had a system. Sunday was laundry and church. Wednesday was spaghetti. Friday we let ourselves buy the good ice cream if the week had been kind. We argued about normal things. Missed curfew, too much salt, whose turn it was to take out the trash. And then we argued about big things. Daniel wanting to drop a class because it reminded him of his father. Elena wanting to go to a concert I could not afford. Me wanting everyone to be safe and home by 9 because the world felt like a wolf. Waiting at the door. When Elena brought Ryan home, I opened that door and let the wolf peek in without knowing it. He came with a shiny smile and a bouquet of supermarket roses still wet from the misting machine. He wore a crisp shirt, cologne that smelled like a department store, and shoes so clean I could see my own kitchen lights reflected in them. Held my hand and said, "Mrs. Martinez, I've heard so much about your cooking." The way he said it told me he had practiced the line in the car. He sold cars then. He joked that he could sell a bicycle to a fish. He was handsome in a careful way, as if he had measured every part of himself before showing it to the world. He laughed too loudly and flattered like he had a quota to meet. Elena fluttered around him like a new bird, excited, proud, nervous. I tried to like him. I tried hard. That's what mothers do when their child is in love. We make room. Ryan's mother, Valerie, was a new kind of person to me. She wore perfume that smelled like money and spoke in a soft voice that somehow made other people feel loud. The first time we met, she looked around my living room, the mismatched frames, the thrifted couch, and smiled without teeth. "Cozy," she said, as if she were grading a hotel. On the morning of the wedding, Valerie came to me with a velvet box the color of midnight. Inside lay a necklace of blue stones and tiny matching earrings. The stones were like drops of ocean, held still. The light sat inside them and hummed. "Family jewels," she said. "From Ryan's grandmother to me, and now to Elena." "They are beautiful," I said, because they were. But beauty can make you feel uneasy if it comes with a story you cannot see to the end of. My stomach tightened, the way it does when you climb a step in the dark, and your foot doesn't find the floor where you thought it would. "We always keep them safe," Valerie said. "We have a safe at home, of course." "Do you?" "A small one," I said. "But Elena can keep them where she wishes." Where we wish, Valerie corrected, like a teacher with a thin smile dot at the reception. Elena wore the necklace, and the room gasped the way rooms do when old things choose a new neck. Ryan looked at her like a man looks at a prize look. I recognized and did not like. I tried to push the thought away and be simple. Be happy for my daughter. Dance to the band. Keep the candles from tipping. Later, when Elena took off the necklace so she could breathe without being careful, she put it back in the velvet box and pressed it into my hands. Can you keep it for a few days? She asked. We don't have a safe yet, and the apartment has thin doors. Ryan says the insurance isn't set up. Of course, I said. And that is how the blue stones came into my house. I put them in my safe with our passports. His silver watch that runs a little slow, and a picture of the three of us in front of the cheap motel we visited when the ocean was all we could afford for a vacation. I told myself it was nothing. Just a box. Just a favor. But I dreamed that night of water and blue light, and a hand I could not see releasing a necklace into the sea. 2 weeks later, Ryan came for the box with a new watch on his wrist and a bottle of wine. He thanked me like a boss thanks a secretary. He called me Sophia instead of Mom. He left a circle of cologne behind him like a stamp. I watched him tuck the velvet box under his arm like it was a file, not a memory. The cold breeze that ran up my back that day has never really left. Marriage is a long road. Some days it's smooth. Some days there is gravel, and some days the road disappears and you're walking through thick grass looking for the path. Elena learned her route slowly. She worked at the hospital, and her hands came home scrubbed and dry. She carried stories in her eyes she was not allowed to tell. Ryan was always chasing something. He changed jobs like he was changing shirts. Sales at a tech company, then a role at a dealership again, then business development at a startup I never fully understood. He liked words like leverage and upside. He liked to say, you have to spend money to make money, while buying a new gadget. When Elena worried, Ryan called her a pessimist. When Daniel tried to give him advice, Ryan called him old school and laughed thinly. He started inviting us to fancy restaurants, and then forgetting his wallet. Oh no, he'd say, patting his pockets. I'll Venmo you tonight. Sometimes he did. Sometimes he didn't. I didn't keep score, but the numbers stacked up somewhere. Once. Elena sat at my table with a pile of bills and a face like a rainy window. He wants to invest in a sure thing, she said. He says we should use the emergency fund. He says I'm blocking his vision. How do you tell someone you love that their vision looks like fog? You name the fog, I said. If you can't see the road, you don't drive fast. Elena smiled a little. He says mothers are always nervous, and I got that from you. I am nervous, I said. I am also still standing. We drank tea that went cold in our hands. Sometimes the only way to stay warm is to hold the cup and each other, even if the tea is no good anymore. Then the necklace started to sneak into their arguments. Ryan would say, we have assets sitting in a drawer when they should be working for us. Elena would say, it was a gift, not a plan. They'd move on. The necklace would remain on the table like a quiet referee that never blew the whistle. Valerie visited often after the wedding, as if she had been given joint custody of my daughter. She brought cookies that came in a tin with a brand name on, the lid and advice that came wrapped the same way. One day she said to me, you must be proud your daughter has married into a family with history. Not everyone has a family piece to pass down. We have pieces, I said. They're just not made of stone. She smiled that thin smile again. Of course, the more she spoke, the more I understood. Her family wore their history in their ears and around their necks. in small glittering truths. In my family, history was written inside our hands, in the way we showed up when someone's car wouldn't start, in the way we brought soup and stories when someone's heart was breaking. Years turned toward the day of the dinner that changed everything. It was a Saturday. I cooked too much food because feeding people is the only way I know to use worry like firewood. I made chicken with lemon and garlic, and a big salad, rice that smells like home, and a pot of black beans that had been soaking since morning. I made flan that jiggled and shone. The house smelled like stamina. Daniel arrived with his wife, Tasha, and their baby boy, my sweet Raphael, who laughs like water poured into a glass. Elena arrived with a face that told me she'd slept 4 hours in the last 2 days. Ryan arrived last, with his phone stuck like a second hand to his palm. We started. Fine. Tasha told a funny story about a patient who had mistaken Daniel for a doctor at the clinic because he was wearing a white shirt. Daniel tried to do a doctor voice. We laughed. Elena told us about an old man who brought her daisies and called her sunshine. For a while, even Ryan had a smile that didn't look like a mask. He talked about a client who bought a car over the phone, and we found that impressive in a harmless way. I filled plates and glasses and thought, maybe tonight is just a night. Ryan kept checking his messages, each glance another small door closing. I saw Elena notice and shrink a little. I saw Daniel notice too, his jaw setting the way his father's used to when something wasn't right. The baby fell asleep in the hallway on a blanket I keep for him, small socks hanging on for dear life. When Ryan put his phone down and cleared his throat, it sounded like someone had dragged a chair across the floor of a quiet church. "Let's cut to it," he said. "Cut to what?" Daniel asked, light as he could make it. Ryan's eyes met mine. They were bright with anger that had been waiting for its cue. "The jewels," he said. Elena stared at her plate. "Ryan, they're gone," he said. "Missing. Stolen. Stolen," Tasha repeated, as if the word itself might break if you said it too loud. Double quotes, "Yes," he said, and his eyes slid to me like a blade. "And I have a very good idea who took them. It is a strange thing when someone accuses you. The body is more honest than the mouth." My stomach fell through the floor. My hands went cold and then hot. My ears started ringing, but my hearing got sharper. I could hear the saucepan settle on the stove and the clock tick toward the future. "Ryan," Elena said softly. "Stop." He didn't. He pushed back his chair. It screamed. "You stole our jewels," he shouted at me. "Just admit it, Sophia. You've never liked me. You've judged me since day one. You think I'm not good enough. You could never accept I'm the man of your daughter's life. You kept saying the necklace should be safe. Safe with you, I bet. Just give it back and I won't call the police." I looked at my daughter, who looked like she was trying to hold back the ocean with her hands. I looked at my son, who stood without knowing he had stood, tall and angry like a tree in a storm. I looked at Tasha, whose eyes were already wet, her arms around the baby monitor like it was a little shield. "I did not take your necklace," I said evenly. "I did not take anything." The word anything rolled around the room. It bumped into the walls and came back to me. "Ryan," Daniel said, his voice deep, the old grief of our family standing up inside him. "Don't talk to my mother like that." Ryan pulled out his phone again. His hands shook. "If she didn't do it, she won't mind a search. She won't mind the police." "Call them," I said quietly. "I have nothing to hide." He looked at me like he couldn't recognize the person who wasn't afraid. He called 2 officers arrive wearing the tired kindness of people who are too often called into small wars that never should have started. They were careful with me and neutral with everyone else. They took notes. Date, time, description of the items where they had last been seen. Ryan gave them a story with a hole in it the size of a choice. He left out how he'd wanted to sell the necklace. Eleanor's eyes told that part silently, but the officers couldn't read her heart. Asked if they could look around. I said yes. They opened my safe. They looked at the old watch that till this day runs 5 minutes late. The birth certificates. The passport where my hair looks like I had argued with a hurricane. And a pair of gold hoops I wear on New Year's Eve because they were my mother's. No velvet, no blue, no stolen anything. They checked the bedroom and the closet I don't let anyone open because it's where I keep extra blankets and my little pile of fears. They even glanced under the bed, because that is where people keep monsters and sometimes money. While they worked, I made coffee because not making it felt wrong, like refusing to put out cups when rain is promised. One of the officers took a cup. He nodded once. In his eyes I saw a son who was trying to decide if his mother was telling the truth about something important. He found no necklace in my kitchen, but he found my face. It looked how truth looks. When it's tired but standing at last, they came back to the table. "Ma'am," the older one said, "we don't see any sign the items are here. We'll file the report. You should send us any photos or appraisals you have. Also a list of anyone with access to your apartment." "That's easy," Ryan said too quickly. "Just us. And your cleaner," Elena whispered. "And your brother when he visited. And your co-worker who borrowed the guest key last week to feed Bax to the cat." Ryan's cheeks reddened. "That's not the point." "It's exactly the point," Daniel said. The officers left with polite nods and a little relief you could smell. The door closed and took the last bit of goodwill with it. I stood, moved plates to the sink, and ran water I didn't need. Elena stood too, like someone who wanted to help and didn't know where to put her hands. Daniel picked up the chair. That had fallen and set it gently back where it belonged. "You can stop pretending," Ryan said, still sitting, shoulders forward like a boxer's. "I see through it." "Through what?" I asked. "The act," he said. "The strong poor widow who thinks she knows everything. Everyone treats you like a saint, but you've hated me since day one. You took those jewels because you wanted to hold something over us. You wanted control." My daughter made a small sound, the kind a heart makes when something heavy is set on it. "Ryan," she said, "this is my mother. This is our life," he said, cutting her off. He looked at me and didn't see me. He saw a problem he wanted to solve with force. "I'll come back tomorrow with the appraisal. You'll see how valuable the necklace is. And when I prove it's missing, I'll do what I have to do." He left. The house breathed out only when his car started and drove away. Elena crumpled into my arms like paper. I held her, and we rocked like a boat tied to a dock in bad weather. "I don't know what to do," she said. "He's not always like this. He's kind sometimes. He tells stories. He makes me laugh. But when money is tight, it's like something grabs him by the throat. He can't hear anything but his own fear. Fear can sound like anger," I said softly. "It can also sound like a plan. But it's still fear." Daniel stayed. "We're not leaving you tonight," he said. He meant both me and Elena when he said you. We put the baby in my sewing room on the small bed under the window that rattles. Tasha made tea with too much honey. We sat like we used to sit after he died. Close, quiet, around a table that was too big for the conversation and just right for the love. "Mum," Daniel said, "I don't want to make this bigger, but the money stuff with Ryan, It's more than talk. He asked me to co-sign a loan last month. He said Elena didn't need to know. I told him no. He called me old-fashioned. He said I was blocking him from opportunity. I kept my face still, but my hands tightened on the mug. Did you tell Elena? I wanted to, he said, but I didn't want to drop a bomb if there was no explosion. I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize for trying to keep peace, I said. We just need to know the truth now. Everyone went to bed but me. I wandered the house the way you do when your mind is loud. I checked windows I'd already locked. I folded a dish towel that was already folded. I opened the pantry and looked at the note Elena had written years ago. We will be okay. The ink had faded in spots. The promise had not dot at midnight. I knelt beside my bed and pulled out a metal box. It is the box that holds the pieces of me that didn't fit anywhere else. Letters. 2 Polaroids that are turning orange. A hospital bracelet with a date that makes my throat tight. The key to a safe deposit box and a little velvet pouch. That feels like a heartbeat when you press it. The key shines even in the dark. I ran my finger over it the way a person touches a scar. I closed the box and slid it back. I slept 3 hours. I dreamed of light on water and a woman's voice saying my name in the morning. I called Mr. Alvarez at the bakery and told him I needed a day. Family? He asked. Family, I said. Then it's not a day off, he said kindly. It's hard work. Take it. The bank smelled like paper and cool air. The vault was a quiet place you could pray in if you didn't have a church. A clerk brought me a long metal box with my number on a little card. I slipped the key in, turned, and felt the soft click in my chest, and in the lock at the same time. Inside lay a worn velvet pouch the color of night after rain. I placed it on the table like it could break. Next to it, letters tied with string. On top, a document with a stamp that told the world it was official. I opened the pouch and the past sat in my hands. Another necklace, a line of older blue stones, with a clasp shaped like a tiny flower. On the back, almost too small to see, an engraving. For M, my eyes filled. The bank room blurred into a soft wash of light. I had seen this necklace last when I was much younger, in a bright kitchen with oilcloth on the table and a pot of beans on the stove. The woman holding it had hands that trembled when she was tired, but never dropped a baby. She said, "Promise me, Sophia. Promise me you'll keep this safe for her. Promise me you won't say a word until the time is right." I promised. I have always kept my promises, even when they were heavy. I tapped the necklace back and opened the top letter. The handwriting belonged to that same woman. The words reached me across almost 3 decades like a voice through a thin wall. "Dear Sophia, please keep this safe for her until the time is right." The rest of the letter stayed in my chest for the moment. Where I had kept it so long it had grown roots. I closed the box. I wiped my eyes. In the quiet, I heard small sounds, the clerks, steps, the soft buzz of a light, the breath of the building. I also heard a louder thing. The choice to let truth walk out of a room where it had been sitting too long. Outside, rain had started, gentle at first, then steady. I walked without an umbrella, letting the water wash the accusation from my skin while leaving the lesson. 2 blocks from home, my phone rang. "Is this Sophia Martinez?" A careful voice asked. "Yes, this is Musa from Beacon Jewelers. I'm sorry to call out the blue. Years ago, your name and number were written on a small card in our appraisal file. It mentioned an engraving on a necklace. We recently saw a necklace with a similar engraving for me, and I wanted to verify whether it matched your notes." My feet stopped. Rain ran down my hair and into my collar. For M, I closed my eyes. "It matches," I said. "It means more than I can say over the phone. If you can, Please come by today, he said. A customer brought it in to sell. I have not purchased it yet. I told them we needed to confirm authenticity. Can you hold it? I asked, my voice low. For a little while, he said. Please hurry. Beacon Jewelers is a narrow shop with ceiling fans that move air in circles and glass cases that hold 100 small suns. Musa had kind eyes behind clean glasses. He took me to the back, set a tray on the counter, and pulled back the cloth. Necklace lay there, blue and calm, with the tiny flower clasp and the words for M hiding like a secret that wanted to be found. A person brought it in this morning, Musa said. They were nervous. They accepted a low price without fighting. That is usually a sign of urgency. Was he tall? I asked, not looking up. Dark hair, neat part, a suit that fits. A little too well. Did he smell like a department store? Did he talk fast and say the word opportunity twice in one sentence? Musa did not answer. He didn't have to. The answer was written in the way his face didn't move. Please don't. Sell it, I said. Not yet. I will bring paperwork. I will bring the truth. Just give me time. A day. You have until tomorrow morning, he said gently. After that, my hands are tied. I thanked him with more gratitude than my words could carry. Outside, the rain had become a curtain. I walked through it like someone walking from one room to another. I held the new purpose in my chest like a warm stone. Fear changes shape when you hold it. It becomes something you can set down at home. Daniel opened the door. Mum, he said, taking in my wet hair, the steady look on my face. What happened? I found a piece, I said. I think I know where another piece is. I pulled out the metal box again. I placed the letter, the document, and the velvet pouch from the bank on the table. My hands shook, but my voice did not. Call Elena, I said. Tell her to come. Elena arrived 30 minutes later. Hair stuck to her cheeks, eyes red, breath short. She dropped her bag and went straight for me like a child running to a lighthouse. He's saying he'll fix it, she said. He keeps saying I shouldn't sign anything, shouldn't talk to the police without him. He says the necklace is evidence and that we have to stand strong. Sit, I said. Drink this. I put a mug in her hands, not because. Tea fixes anything, but because holding something warm keeps you from breaking into pieces. What's going on? She whispered. She looked at the pouch on the table like it was a small animal that might bite. Daniel sat on one side of her. Tasha stood in the doorway with the baby on her hip, quiet as a prayer. I sat across from my daughter and saw the child. I had tucked into bed 1,000 times, and the woman who now tucks others into hospital beds so they are not afraid. I saw both at once. My heart made a sound only I could hear. I have kept a promise for a very long time, I said. I made it to protect you. But now that promise is hurting us. It is time to open it. The front door swung wide, and the storm stepped into my living room wearing Ryan's face. He stood there, wet and wired, eyes bright the way they are, when a gamble is almost out of his hands. Don't sign anything, he barked at Elena. Don't say anything. I'm handling it. He noticed the table, the papers, the pouch. Daniel standing like a fence between me and the hole Ryan was digging. What is this? He demanded. This is where the shouting stops, I said softly. Sit down. He didn't sit. He hovered, rain sliding from his coat and marking my floor in dark commas. But he didn't leave either. He wanted to hear. He had to. That is the thing about secrets. Even those who fear them lean close. I untied the string on the old letter. The paper was worn smooth at the creases from the times I had taken it out and put it back. Taken it out and put it back again. My hands were steady. My voice was clear, the way it gets when the truth finally stands up. I began to read. Dear Sophia, if this letter is in your hands, it means I am weak or gone, or too afraid to speak for myself. Please forgive me. Please forgive me most of all for asking you to carry what I cannot. I am going to the hospital. The baby is close. I have not told her father. He would not understand. His family would not allow me to keep her, and I cannot lose her and still breathe. Please, if I do not come back to this little house, keep my baby safe. Keep her where love is louder than shame. If you name her something bright. If you keep a piece of me for her, keep the necklace. It was my nana's. Her name was Mercedes, mine is Marina. That is why the clasp is engraved for M. My mother wore it when she married. I wore it when I told the truth to you in this kitchen. And then I took it off and pressed it into your hands. It is the only thing that felt heavy enough to be a promise. If one day a brave girl asks, who am I? Tell her that I loved her all the days of her life, even the days I did not get to live. Tell her I wanted to choose her above pride. Tell her that the river of her belongs to women who worked and sang and did not give up, even when the world tried to close the door. One more thing. I wrote my name and a simple note at Beacon Jewelers years ago when I took the necklace to be cleaned. I told the man there to write my name and a reference on the appraisal. If anyone ever says the piece is theirs, the records will show another story. My mother's surname is on the paper. Keep this letter with it. Keep the truth close. But give it to her when she is strong enough to hold it. Thank you, my friend. I know you love me. I know you will love her. Marina, the last line trembled. I did too. For a moment, I could not speak. The room waited with me. Elena wiped her face with the heel of her hand. Who is Marina? She asked, voice small and wide at the same time. My friend, I said. My neighbor, 19. Brave and scared. She lived 2 houses down from our first apartment. We cooked together when we both had very little to cook. We shared onions and secrets. One day she told me she was pregnant. The father came from a family with money and a last name that opens doors. He told her to disappear. She would not. She came to me instead. Daniel leaned forward. Did she? She had you, I said softly to Elena. And then she bled. The ambulance came. She smiled once at you and then her eyes went far away. I held you while the machines made their noises. She never came back to the little house. Her mother had died years earlier. Her father, he had left. There was no one to claim you but me and her. So I did. We did. Elena's breath made. A sound like something thin tearing. So I'm adopted. You are my daughter, I said. Since the first time I held you, you were mine. The law later caught up to what we already knew. We went to court. We signed papers. I tapped the second document on the table. Your father, Jorge, cried when the judge said it out loud. Elena Martinez. He said the name again and again on the drive home, like a song. Ryan laughed once, sharp. Nice story. Terrible timing. Daniel shot him a look that could. Cut. Elena stared at me. Why didn't you tell me? I had rehearsed this answer for years, and still my mouth felt clumsy. At first I was afraid, I said. The father's family sent a man to my door. He wore a suit and a smile that did not reach his eyes. He said I should keep quiet. He said people who stir up the past lose the present. He said I would be watched. I was young. I was alone. I had a newborn and a grieving boy. I chose safety. And later, when the fear faded, life ran fast. There was always a school project, a bill, a birthday. a broken pipe, a new job, a fever, a field trip. Each year I thought, when she is older, when she has both feet on the ground, when the world is kinder, then the years stacked up. I am sorry, mi amor. I was wrong to wait this long. Elena pressed her fingers into her forehead and nodded, like she was trying to hold a heavy thought steady. Tears slid anyway. I don't know how to feel, she whispered. Grateful, angry, lost, found, all at once. That's all right, Tasha said softly. You don't have to pick one. Daniel looked at me. Did Dad know? Yes, I said. He held her first, actually, before I did. The nurse placed Elena in his arms while I signed a form. He looked at me over the tiny hat and said, "We're a team. We can do this." He never questioned. He never looked back. Elena took a breath that felt like it scraped her throat. On the way out. So, Marina is my mother. The necklace is hers. The necklace is yours, I said. Marina wanted you to have it. It sits in a bank, because the man in the suit taught me to be careful. Ryan stepped forward. So, what? You want to distract us with a soap opera? The necklace that matters is the one missing from our apartment. The one from my family. Your family? Daniel's voice hardened. Or your pawn ticket? Ryan's eyes narrowed. What? I put the letter down and folded my hands. A jeweler called me today, I said simply. Beacon Jewelers. He remembered the phrase, for M. He asked me to come by. When I did, he showed me a necklace. Blue stones. Familiar clasp. It was not the one from my bank. It was the one you say is missing. He did not buy it yet. He was waiting to confirm details. He asked me to hurry. So I am. Ryan's mouth opened and closed. He's lying, he said. I took it in to get it cleaned. That's all. He wrote offer pending on a slip. I said. He described you. He described your watch. I looked at the watch on Ryan's wrist. He said the seller accepted a low price very fast. That is not how people act when they are cleaning. Eleanor's hand flew to her mouth. Ryan. He shook his head. This is insane. They're all against me. Or, Daniel said, you drove yourself into a corner and thought accusing our mother would open a door. The baby fussed. Tasha rocked him gently and hummed. The song made the room feel like it had a roof again. Elena turned to me. Can I see the other necklace? Marina's? Yes, I said. But not here. I touched the little velvet pouch on the table. This pouch is empty. I left the piece in the bank box. I kept the letters with me. I also kept an old photo. I slid a worn picture across the table. In it, a girl stood in a bright kitchen holding a necklace against her collarbone, eyes shining and scared. The necklace was the same one I had seen that morning. The girl was Marina. Elena traced the face with one finger as if she could touch. Time. She looks like me, she whispered, surprised and not surprised at all. She laughed like you too, I said, soft and sudden. And she cried like you, quiet first, then honest. Ryan moved toward the table and reached for the letter. Daniel stood, chair legs scraping. Don't touch, he said. Ryan looked at Elena, not at Daniel. You can't seriously believe this is real, he said to her. Any of it. A letter. A picture. This is a trick. Eleanor's voice surprised all of us with how calm it was. It might not be real, she said. It might be the most real thing I've learned about my life. Both can be true right now. But I know what is definitely real. You tried to sell a gift that was supposed to be kept safe. He flinched. For a second, he didn't have words. Then he found some. I did it for us, he said. For a down payment. For a business. For a future. For yourself, Daniel said. For our future, Ryan repeated stubbornly. You're all so small. So small with your ideas. You think saving pennies is the only way. You don't see that money as a tool. Tools can build, Tasha said from the doorway. And they can destroy. Depends who's holding them. Ryan pointed. At me. She turned you against me. She always has. From day one. Elena looked at me, then at him. No, she said softly. You did that by yourself. The rain slowed outside. The house exhaled with it. For a while, no one spoke. The quiet wasn't empty, though. The quiet was full of decisions being made in different hearts. Finally, I stood. Here is what happens next, I said. We call the police officer who visited last night and tell him what the jeweler has. We take the adoption papers and Marina's letter with us. Not because we owe them to anyone, but because truth travels better with proof. We ask the jeweler to hold the peace until the police arrive. We do not shout. We do not accuse. We simply put the facts on the table and let them sit there. Ryan laughed again. That small, sharp sound. This is absurd. Maybe, I said. But absurd things have a way of turning into honest consequences. If I am wrong, I will apologize to you with both hands. If I am right, you will apologize to my daughter and my family. And then we will decide what to do with the wreckage. He ran his hands through his hair. You think you're the judge, he said. You think you're always right. I think I am done being quiet, I said. Elena stood up too. Her knees knocked the table and made the cups clink. I'm going with you, she said to me. I want to see everything. I want to hold the necklace from the bank and feel what my body feels. I want to see the piece at the shop and feel what my body feels there too. My head is loud. Maybe my hands will help. Daniel grabbed his jacket. I'm driving. Ryan stepped in front of the door. You are not leaving with my property, he said. His voice had the cold metal of someone who has something to lose. Move, Daniel said. His voice had the warm metal of someone who will not. For a second, I watched two different kinds of men, one trying to block a door, one standing in it. Elena walked between them like water finds a gap in rock. She took my hand. It was the way she used to when she was little and the grocery store felt too big. I squeezed back. Tasha whispered she would meet us later after feeding the baby. We stepped onto the porch. The rain had slowed to a fine mist. The street smelled like wet earth. Ryan followed, angry steps on wood. Elena, he called. If you go with them against me, don't expect me to be here when you get back. She turned. She looked at him for a long time, the way you look at a house you've lived in for years and suddenly notice the cracks in its foundation. Her voice was gentle and terrible. I expect you to be who you are, she said. That is the problem. We drove to the police station first. The younger officer from last night met us with eyes that had learned to listen. We told him about the jeweler. I held out the letter and the adoption decree. He read the first lines, then lifted his palm. You can keep the originals, he said. If needed, we'll make copies. We just need the shop's name and your statement. He picked up the phone and called. The words we heard were soft and professional, but they clicked into place like a lock. Hold the item, please. No. Do not release it to anyone. Yes, we're on our way. On the way to Beacon Jewelers, Elena stared out the window at the wet streets. What if I don't feel anything? She asked suddenly. What if I hold the necklace and it's just stones and metal? What if I'm numb? Then you're numb, Daniel said. Numb is honest too. I don't want to be ungrateful, she said. You gave me a life. You and Dad. I don't want this new truth to make the old truth smaller. It won't, I said. It will make the room bigger. Truth doesn't knock down walls in a good house. It opens doors. She nodded and pressed her forehead to the window for a moment. Her breath left a small cloud. She drew a tiny heart in it and then wiped it away, almost shy dot at the bank. We asked for the box. The clerk recognized me from the morning and did not ask questions. In the small private room, I set the velvet pouch on the table and pulled the necklace into the light. The stones woke like eyes. The tiny flower clasp shone. The words for M curled on the metal like a whisper. Elena reached out slowly, like a person reaching for a bird. She lifted the necklace with both hands. She closed her eyes. A small sound escaped her throat. Not a sob, not a word. Something in the room changed temperature. She opened her eyes again, and they were different, not fixed, not solved, just wider. It feels like a hand on my shoulder, she said. Like someone is standing behind me and saying, I'm here. She wiped her cheeks and laughed without meaning to. I don't even wear much jewelry. Maybe it isn't jewelry, Daniel said softly. Maybe it's a memory that didn't get to happen. Happening now. We signed the papers to take the piece out. I tucked the necklace back into its pouch and placed the pouch in my bag. My bag felt heavier and lighter at the same time. Beacon Jewelers was bright like a small sun. Musa met us at the door, his face calm. The young officer from the station joined us 2 minutes later with a partner and a notebook. Thank you for waiting, he told Musa. Musa nodded. Of course, I did not want to be part of a mistake. He led us to the back counter and lifted a tray. On it sat a necklace very close to ours, but not the same. The stones were bluer than water. The clasp was similar, but not a flower. There was no engraving. The chain was newer. It was, unmistakably, the necklace from Elena's wedding photos. Elena pressed her hand to her mouth again. That's it, she said. That's the one Valerie gave me. The officer photographed it. Did the seller sign anything? He asked. Yes, Musa said. He produced a small form. His shop logo sat in the corner like a polite stamp. The seller's name line was filled in with a quick hand. Ryan Hull. The amount offered was written in Musa's neat numbers. Under signature, a scribble I had seen on greeting cards and car receipts. Elena stared at the paper. Her shoulders drew up like she was cold. Daniel put his arm around her and pulled her close without asking. She didn't resist. The officer called the station. We have the item. We have a signed sale form. We'll need to speak to the complainant. He listened. Yes, we'll bring it in. I thanked Musa 3 times. He waved it away. I have a mother, he said simply. I know the shape of a lie when it wants to steal from one. We walked back to the car. The sky had started to break open into lines of light. Elena buckled herself in and touched the pouch in my bag like it was alive. What happens now? She asked. Now, Daniel said, we go home. We breathe. We let the police do their part. And then we choose what kind of people we are going to be after this. And what kind of family we are. I added. We drove in silence for a while. At a red light, Elena spoke without looking at me. I'm angry at you, she said. I'm also grateful beyond words. Both are true. I know, I said. I can carry both with you. I don't know what to do about Ryan, she whispered. I married him. That means something. But so does today. So does the part of me that says enough. Then listen to that part, Daniel said. Dad would say the same. We pulled into my driveway. Ryan's car was still there. He was not inside the house. He was on the porch, pacing, phone to his ear, voice up. When he saw us, he hung up so fast his screen smeared. With rain dot, he pointed at my bag. "What's that?" he barked. "Careful," Daniel warned. "It's mine," Elena said. Her voice was low and strong. "Everything in it is mine, including the right to be done with your games." Ryan's mouth twisted. He looked from the officers behind us to the bag to my face. "You think you won?" "No," I said. "I think the truth started moving. It doesn't belong to anyone. It just keeps walking. And it will keep walking until it finds where it belongs." The officers stepped forward. "Mr. Harley," one said, formal now, "we recovered a necklace matching the item you reported stolen. The shop has a signed form from you offering to sell it. We need you to come with us to the station to make a new statement." Ryan laughed and shook his head. "This is a misunderstanding," he said. I was trying to fix a mistake. I was going to buy it back." "You can explain that there," the officer replied. Ryan looked at Elena. For a second, he was the man she had loved, the one who told stories and made her laugh. Then the mask slid back. "You all think you're better than me," he said, quietly. "You think your truths are cleaner, but we all do what we must." He went with the officers. No handcuffs, not yet. But he went. After they drove away, the porch felt huge. The house hummed with the small sounds of life. The fridge, the baby's cry, the kettle clicking as it cooled. Inside, Tasha handed Elena a towel and a bowl of soup I had forgotten to serve earlier. Elena sat at the table and ate 2 slow spoonfuls. Then she set the spoon down and covered her face with both hands. I stood behind her and placed my palms on her shoulders. I thought of Marina in her bright kitchen. I thought of her in the hospital hallway, saying yes to a life we didn't plan. I thought of Daniel, holding us all up without being asked to since he was 15. My family, with all our dents and our stubborn hearts. Elena lifted her head. "I want to meet anyone who knew her," she said. "Marina, I want to know everything. You know, I want to see the house if it's still there." "It is," I said. "It's smaller now than it is in my memory, but it's there. We can go tomorrow." "And the father?" Elena asked. I looked at Daniel and then back at her. "That is your choice," I said. "I know his name. I have an old address. He may have changed. He may not. If you want to knock on that door, I will stand beside you. If you do not, I will stand beside you in that too." She nodded, grateful not to be pushed. "One door at a time," she said. We sat together until the sky turned the color of a bruise opening. Tasha took the baby home. For a nap, Daniel fixed the squeaky chair that had driven me crazy all week, just to do something useful with his hands. I made tea not because tea fixes anything, but because it gives you a reason to sit still. As night arrived again, I carried the velvet pouch to my bedroom and set it on the dresser next to her, his watch, and the small photo of him at the lake, younger than my son is now. I touched the pouch and felt the weight of love that survives its owner. The room felt less empty with it there. Elena knocked on the doorframe. "Can I sleep here tonight?" she asked. "In my old room? Just to be near you?" "Yes," I said. "Always." We made up the bed with the old quilt. She lay down and stared at the ceiling. I sat in the chair that still has the impression of me reading bedtime stories. "Tell me more," she said. "Tell me everything you remember about Marina." So I did. I told her about the way Marina hummed when she chopped onions, about the tiny scar on her chin from falling off a bike when she was 10, about how she kept a little notebook in her pocket where she wrote down words she liked. Blue, mercy, lift, morning. I told her about the day she tried on the necklace and laughed and cried at the same time, because it felt like wearing history. I told her about the way she looked at Elena in the hospital. One fast look that had to be enough. And how it was. So full of love it could fill miles. Am I like her? Elena asked. You're like yourself, I said. And that self was built by many hands mine. Jorge's, Daniel's, the nurses who taught you to be brave, your friends, your teachers, and a girl named Marina who loved you before you had a name. You are not missing anything. You are adding. She nodded. I don't know what I'll do about Ryan, she said. But I know I don't want this kind of storm in my life anymore. You can choose calm, I said. Calm is not boring. Calm is room to breathe. We fell quiet. The house settled. In the next room, Hera's watch ticked 5 minutes. Late as usual. Eleanor's breathing slowed. When she slept, she looked like the baby the nurse had placed in Hera's arms and the young woman in a white dress wearing blue stones and the nurse who holds strangers' hands at 3 a.m. All the faces were the same. I didn't sleep much. I kept thinking about tomorrow. About the way truth, once let out of a box, keeps walking. I thought about the jeweler's careful eyes, about the officer's steady hands, about the way Ryan's anger had looked more like fear than I wanted to admit. I thought about Valerie, who would soon be calling, voice full of ice. And I thought about the woman in the letter, and the way her words still moved like water after all these years. In the morning, the phone rang before the sun fully lifted. It was the officer. We've taken Mr. Hale's statement, he said. He admitted he tried to sell the necklace to cover a personal loan. He said he panicked and filed the report to buy time. We'll return the piece to Ms. Martinez as the legal owner. There may be charges, but that is up to the district attorney. Thank you, I said. My voice surprised me with how steady it was. After I hung up, I stood by the window and watched the street wake up. A dog pulled a sleepy man down the sidewalk. A woman in a neon jacket jogged past my fence. Life still happening even when ours had turned. Elena sat up, hair wild, eyes soft. Was that? Yes, I said. They're bringing it back. She nodded and rubbed her face. I'm going to take a shower, she said. Then if you can, take me to the little house, Marina's. I can, I said. We'll bring flowers. Downstairs, Daniel was already making eggs. He looked at me, eyebrows raised. I told him. He breathed out. Good, he said simply. Then he flipped an egg with unnecessary force and laughed at himself. Good. We ate together. We did not talk much. We didn't need to. The table felt different, lighter. The missing chair space where Ryan usually sat was not a hole. It was a window. Through it, I could see something I did not yet have words for. Maybe it was peace taking off its coat and looking for a place to hang it. Before we left for Marina's old house, I opened the dresser drawer and took out the velvet pouch. I placed the necklace in a small linen bag and slipped it into my purse. I also put the adoption papers and the letter into a protective sleeve, not because I wanted to show them to the world, but because I wanted to walk with them for a while. Sometimes you have to carry your truth around the block before it fits back in your chest. I wrote a note to Tasha back soon, coffee in the thermos, and set it by the kettle. Then Elena and I walked out to the car. As we closed the front door, the phone on the side table lit up with a new call. The name on the screen made my stomach tighten. Valerie. I let it ring. The truth was already walking. It would meet her soon enough. My family woke to a quieter house and a louder truth. The officer called at dawn and said the words we had been waiting to hear. The wedding necklace was recovered and would be returned to its legal owner, my daughter. He didn't say much about charges. He didn't have to. Consequences were already. Standing in the doorway, Elena took a long shower and came down the steps with wet hair and a new face. Not happy, not free, but awake. Daniel made eggs and put them in front of her without a speech. That is his love language, doing the simple thing in front of him, well, and without noise. While we ate, my phone rang. Valerie. I let it ring again. It rang a third time, a fourth. On the fifth, Elena reached across the table and pressed answer. She hit the speaker button and set the phone down between the salt and the napkins. Valerie's voice poured into the kitchen cold and sweet. Finally, she said. I have been calling all night. Put me on with my son. He isn't here, Elena said. He's with the police, answering questions. Silence, then a sharp inhale. They told me nothing, Valerie said. They said, we can't disclose. That is what they say when they are hiding there. Own incompetence. Elena, darling, listen to me. This is a misunderstanding. A shop mixed up paperwork. Or your mother. Her tone turned sticky. Your mother planted something. She has never liked us. She enjoys drama. She has always wanted to control you. Daniel reached for the phone, but Elena pressed his hand down. No, she said, into the speaker, calm and terrible in the way calm can be. What happened is simple. Ryan tried to sell my necklace and panicked when he realized what he had done. He lied. He filed a false report. He let the police search my mother's house. I'm tired, Valerie. My family's necklace, Valerie snapped. It is ours. It was loaned to you for the wedding. Our tradition. It was a gift, Elena said. You said those exact words that morning. From my hands to yours. I remember. So? Does your son? So do the photos. So does the law. You listen to me. Valerie hissed. You do not throw away a marriage over a little mistake. I'm not throwing, Elena said. I'm setting down what hurts to carry. Valerie shifted tactics in a breath. Think about children, she said softly, and it made my skin crawl. Do you want a broken home? I grew up in a home that had breaks, Elena said. It was not broken. It was repaired daily with love. Valerie waited 2 beats and then tried one more door. I will be there in 20 minutes, she said. Do not leave. Do not let that woman, Elena pressed end. She stared at the phone as if it were a small insect. Then she turned it face down and pushed it away with one finger. Doorbell rang 30 minutes later, not 20. Valerie arrived dressed like a verdict. Her hair was perfect. Her lipstick was perfect. Only her eyes betrayed the night she'd had. She came in without asking. Where is he? She demanded. At the station, Daniel said, standing. She waved a hand. They will realize it was a mistake. He is not a thief. No one answered. Silence can be a mirror. She did not like what she saw in it. Her gaze landed on my bag on the counter, the bag with the velvet pouch inside. Her voice sharpened. You have something of ours. I stepped closer to the bag, not to hide it, but to own it. We have our own things, I said, and the police will bring the wedding necklace very soon. You can wait if you like. I will wait, she said, sitting as if the chair should be grateful. And while we wait, you will tell me why you insist on poisoning my son's marriage. Elena's marriage is Elena's, I said. It is not mine. It is not yours. Valerie leaned forward. You always resented us. From day one, you looked at our family the way poor people look at museums, admiring, judging, secretly wishing to take something home. Daniel flinched. Elena stood so fast her chair slid back. Stop, she said. No more talking about my mother like that. In her house. This is my son's life, Valerie said. You married into a family with standards. We are not perfect, but we are respectable. And now look, police, paperwork, humiliation. All because that woman, The police are here because Ryan tried to sell my property, Elena said, steady. The humiliation is his. The pain is mine. And my mother is the reason I can stand up at all right now. Sit quietly, Valerie, or leave. For a moment I thought Valerie would explode. Instead, she sat back, folded her hands in her lap, and smiled the way ice smiles when it turns back into water quick and temporary. Fine, she said. We will listen. We didn't have to wait long. A knock at the door. The officer from yesterday stood there with a small sealed bag and paperwork. He was kind enough to spare us formalities. He placed the bag on the table, cut the seal, lifted the velvet box, and set it in front of Elena. Double quotes, Ms. Martinez, he said. This is released to you. Elena's fingers hovered over the lid. She opened it. The blue stones inside still looked like a small ocean. The room went quiet. She closed the box and set it aside, as if placing a goodbye on a table. Valerie leaned forward. We will take that, she said, standing. It belongs to our line. The officer shook his head. Ma'am, it was a gift. We confirmed by statements and photos. It is Ms. Martinez's property. Valerie's lips trembled for the first time. She looked at Elena and saw, I think, that the old power tricks would not work today. She tried a new one. Her voice went soft, almost tender. I gave that necklace to you because I believed in us as a family. Because I wanted you to feel part of something bigger. Because I wanted to love you. Why are you making me your enemy? Elena swallowed. She took a breath. Love does not come with a receipt, she said. It also does not come with conditions or threats. You can love me without owning me. Valerie's eyes flashed. You learned those words from her, she said. Meaning me, like love itself can be a trick. I learned them from being hurt, Elena said. Hurt teaches you simple sentences. Valerie turned to me. And what is this other thing I hear? This story you are spreading this. Adoption? Is that another play? Another way to turn my son's wife against us? I looked at her for a long moment. I thought of the man in the suit who had come to my old door years ago with his thin smile. I thought of my fear then. I felt none now. It is not a story, I said. It is Eleanor's life. A young woman named Marina asked me to keep her safe. I did. And I am done being quiet about it. I lifted the letter, not for Valerie, but for the room, and then I placed it back down. Also, I added, if you wish to talk about family lines, I should tell you something else. Elena turned to me surprised. Daniel leaned in. Valerie's chin lifted. The man who sent someone to my door to scare me back then had a last name, I said. I saw it on his card and on a file in the lawyer's office when we finalized the adoption. Marina wrote it on an appraisal note. At Beacon Jewelers years ago. It is the same last name your son has. Valerie paled. What are you implying? Not blood between Elena and Ryan, I said quickly, so my daughter wouldn't faint. No. The world is big enough to hold. 2 Hales without a scandal you can hold. But the man who abandoned Marina, the man who wanted our silence, came from your husband's side, Valerie. He was your late husband's cousin. Your family name attached itself to my daughter long before Ryan stood in front of her with a ring. Valerie went still. Her eyes looked past me at something I could not see. Memory, maybe. What is his name? She asked, voice thin. Marcus, I said. Marcus Howley. Valerie closed her eyes. When she opened them, the fight in them had changed shape. I knew a Marcus, she said slowly. He was a problem. He left the country a long time ago. We do not speak his name. She looked at Elena, and for a moment, very small, I saw a person beneath the armor. If what you say is true, then Then we owe you an apology bigger than the one I came with. You came without one, I said softly, but not unkindly. Valerie stared at the velvet box, then at Elena's face. I can fix things, she said, half to herself. I always fix things. You cannot fix this like a dress hem, I said. You can be kind, that is all. The officer cleared his throat, uncomfortable with the family theatre. I'll need signatures, he said. We signed. He left with practiced discretion. When the door shut, Elena looked at the velvet box. She reached out, rested her hand on it, and then took it away. I don't want this in my house, she said quietly. It has been a rope and a weapon. I will not let it be either anymore. Valerie's head snapped up. What are you saying? I'm going to sell it, Elena said, with a proper dealer, with documents, for a fair price. I'm going to use the money to build something that doesn't hurt anyone. A fund at the hospital for mothers who come in alone. I'll call it the Marina Fund. You may contribute if you like, but you will not control it. Valerie swayed as if wind had found her. That necklace has been in our family for... Then your family's history can do something good, Elena said. Or it can keep sitting in a box, making people small. I choose good. Daniel smiled without showing teeth. Tasha, who had been listening from the doorway, wiped a tear and nodded. Valerie stood. She looked at me and then at Elena. I will not forgive you for humiliating my son, she said, regaining her armor. But I cannot fight a truth that will not move. She picked up her bag. At the door, she turned. If you decide you want your marriage, call me. I will help. If I decide I want my life, Elena said, I will call myself. Valerie left. The house sighed with her. We did not celebrate. We cleaned the kitchen. Daniel fixed a drawer that had been sticking since winter. Tasha laid the baby on the rug with wooden blocks. Elena put the velvet box in a paper bag and placed it on the highest shelf in my pantry. Above the note she wrote as a child, we will be okay. Then we drove to the little house. It sits on a narrow street where the trees lean over as if trying to hear each other. The paint is peeling. The porch is soft. The number on the mailbox is crooked. It is smaller than my memory and just as brave. I stood on the sidewalk holding daisies. Elena stood next to me holding a jar of water and a face half child, half a nurse. A woman with silver hair and a kind shirt stepped onto the porch. Can I help you? She asked. I smiled. I used to live 2 doors down, I said. A friend of mine lived here a long time ago. Her name was Marina. She died when her baby was born. I promised to bring the baby back one day. The woman's face changed. She came down the steps slowly. I moved in 20 years ago, she said. When? I was cleaning the attic. I found a small tin. I kept it because I didn't know who to give it to. I always hoped someone would come. Wait here. She went inside and returned with a dented cookie tin. She handed it to Elena. I think this wants you, she said. Elena's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside lay a baby blanket, yellow and worn, with a small stitched M in one corner. A postcard with a picture of the ocean on the front and words on the back in a looping hand. If she is a girl, I like the name Elena. Be brave, little light. Love. Elena sat on the porch step without planning to. She pressed the blanket to her face and breathed in dust and time and something sweet that had waited 2 decades to be smelled again. Tears fell straight down her cheeks. They did not wobble. They knew where to go. I sat beside her. The woman with the silver hair sat on her other side and put an arm around her back like neighbors do when the world finally does something right. Daniel stood in the yard with his hands in his pockets and looked at the clouds as if asking someone to keep them that way for a while. We left flowers by the porch post that had a small crack all the way down like a scar that learned to hold. Wait anyway. As we were leaving, the woman called to us. Wait, she said. There's one more thing. She handed me a little key on a ribbon. Behind the house is a shed, she said. There's an old chest back there. It was locked when we moved in. We never opened it. Maybe you should. The shed door stuck, then released with a sigh. Inside, dust and shadows and the smell of old wood. We found the chest. The key slid in and turned as if its muscle memory had not forgotten. Inside were small things that tried to be big. A church program with Marina's name. A book of baby names with 3 pages dog-eared: Elena, Layla, and Sol. A photograph of 2 girls on a couch, laughing. One of them me, the other Marina, holding up the necklace and making a face that says, "Can you believe this shiny thing is mine?" I had forgotten that photo existed. Seeing it felt like finding a path under a leaf. There was also a small sealed envelope with my name on it. Sophia. I opened it. The paper was thin. The words were few. If you are reading this, I did not come home. Thank you for saying yes to a life you did not expect. Don't let them scare you. You are stronger than they know. If she ever asks why you kept her, tell her, because love is louder. Because I asked you to. Because you wanted to. Because she is yours. I folded the note and placed it back in the envelope. I put the envelope in my pocket close to my heart, because that is where it had always lived, even when I didn't carry it. We locked the shed, thanked the woman, and drove to the cemetery on the hill, where the wind is a little braver. Marina's grave is small. The stone is simple. It says her name, and the year that tried to hold her and failed. Elena knelt and laid the daisies down. She touched the stone with her fingers like a mother touching a sleeping child's back. "Hi," she whispered. "I'm Elena. I'm okay. I'm loved. I'm a nurse. I help people. I talk too much when I'm nervous. I still can't cook rice right. I have your necklace. I have your note. I have a mother who kept me and a brother who stands like a tree. And a father who..." Her voice broke and then found itself. "Who said my name like a song. Thank you for giving me to them. I'm going to try to live a life that makes you proud. Not perfect, just honest." The wind lifted her hair. The sky didn't do anything fancy. It just stayed open. We drove home without speaking much. Silence was doing its work, knitting, cooling, sorting. At the house, I brewed coffee. Daniel built a small shelf by the front window for a plant Elena had always wanted to keep alive. Kasia called to say the baby had finally fallen asleep, and she asked if we needed anything. "No," I said. "We have enough." At 3 in the afternoon, someone knocked. It was Ryan. He looked smaller. Not less tall, just less big, the way people can be when a balloon has lost air. He held his hands out empty. "I need to talk," he said. Elena hesitated, then nodded. On the porch, we sat on the steps. He looked at the yard and not at us. "They let me go for now," he said. "There will be a hearing. I might keep my record clean if I take a program and pay the shop their fee. I might not. I don't. No." No one answered. He swallowed. "I'm sorry," he said to Elena, and his voice cracked for the first time since I had known him. "I'm sorry. I was desperate. I made a stupid choice and then another one. I didn't know how to back down, so I doubled up. I thought the money would fix everything. I thought if I pulled off one smart move, the feeling that I'm always 2 steps behind would go away." Eleanor's face didn't change. "Did you ever think about how it would feel when you blamed my mother? When you let them search her house?" He closed his eyes. "I thought I could control it. I thought I could talk my way out. That is not an apology, she said. He opened his eyes again. I am sorry, he said, clearer. I hurt you. I hurt her. I hurt myself. I keep thinking I'm bigger than my fear. And then I realize my fear is driving the car. Then stop driving, Daniel said from the doorway, not unkind. Ryan looked at him, then back at Elena. I want to fix it, he said. I'll sell the car. I'll get another job. I'll go to meetings. I'll do whatever. Just don't leave me. Eleanor's hands folded in her lap like a small book that had finished a chapter. I'm not leaving you, she said. I'm stepping away from you. They are not the same. I'm going to my mother's for a while. We will separate. We will. Talk to a counselor if you want. But I won't live with the person who makes me choose between truth and love. I won't live with the man who makes my mother the villain to save face. He nodded, the movement small. He stood up. Can I hug you? He asked. Elena thought for a moment and then stood. She hugged him like a person hugs a guest, not a husband. He cried into her shoulder once, hard. Then he stepped back and wiped his face with the sleeve of a shirt that cost too much. I'll call you tomorrow, he said. About the counselor. Okay, she said. Tomorrow. He turned to me and tried a smile that died before it reached his cheeks. You're a hard woman to beat, he said. I'm not trying to beat you, I said. I'm trying to save my daughter. He nodded as if that made sense in a language he didn't speak yet. He left with his hands in his pockets and his eyes on the ground. I watched him go and felt complicated things: pity, anger, hope, tiredness. People are not one thing. That evening, the house felt light for the first time in months. We ate leftovers. We played with the baby on the rug. I told a story about Herhey taking us to the wrong beach once and us ending up at a boat launch instead. And how we swam anyway because water is water if you're brave enough to ignore the sign. Elena laughed until she cried. And then she just cried. And then she laughed again. Healing is messy like that. Days passed. Life did not ask permission. The hospital needed Elena. The bakery needed me. The clinic needed Daniel. The baby needed all of us. Valerie called twice more. The second time, she did not shout. She asked, in a voice that had a little air in it, if she could contribute to the Marina Fund when it was ready. Quietly, she said. No plaques, no names. I said yes. Not for her. For the mothers. Ryan entered a financial responsibility program as part of a deal. He started seeing a counselor. He and Elena met with a therapist who told them their truth without decorations. Trust is a house, she said. You can't hang pictures on the walls until you've checked the foundation. You can rebuild, but you must agree to put the same bricks back in. Elena moved into her old room at my house for a while. We made space for her shoes and her nurse scrubs and her notebooks full of new goals. Save this amount. Run 3 miles. Learn a new recipe. Call Musa about an appointment to auction the necklace properly. She wore the 4M necklace on a thin chain under her work shirt sometimes. She said it felt like a hand on her shoulder during code blues. We met with Musa. He introduced us to an auction house that treated the wedding necklace like history, not like a pawned regret. Papers were signed. Dates were set. When the day came, it sold for a number that would have made Ryan dizzy. It made me dizzy too, but for a different reason. Money has always frightened me a little. Too little. You drown. Too much. You can drown too. Elena told me her plan would prevent both kinds. We opened the Marina Fund with a small ceremony in a hospital conference room that still smelled like coffee. No balloons. No speeches longer than 3 minutes. We printed a single photo of Marina. laughing in the kitchen with her necklace and set it by a vase of daisies. The hospital administrator promised the fund would help mothers with cab rides, formula, rent for a week, a crib. Little things that are big on the right day. Valerie came quietly and stood in the back. She left a plain envelope at the donation table, no name. Later, when we counted, it made me sit down for a moment. I will never know if it was love, guilt, or both. Both seems most likely. People are not one thing. A month later, Elena and I drove to an old white office downtown to request copies of records. The clerk did her best with her computer that sounded like a kettle. She handed us documents in crisp folders. One was the adoption decree I already had. The other was a note from an old case file with a name and an address that no longer existed. Marcus Howley. Somewhere in another state now. A thin trail to a man who had once been a decision in a room. And then a ghost in our story. Do you want to find him? I asked in the car. Elena looked out the window for a long time. I want him to know I'm okay, she said finally. I don't want him to know where I live. I don't want him to know my phone number. I want him to know he didn't break me. Then we'll write a letter, I said. No return address. Just a fact laid gently on the table. We did. We wrote for an hour on my kitchen table, checking each sentence for anger and removing what burned too hot. We said, I am Elena. I am alive. I am loved. A kind woman kept me safe. You didn't choose me, but someone did. You are not a hole in me. You are a page in a book that is not missing any chapters. Please live a life you are not ashamed of. We folded the letter and mailed it to the old address with the strange hope that it would find a newer one. Ryan kept his appointments. He paid off one debt, then another. He sold the watch. He moved into a smaller apartment with noisy pipes. He texted Elena photos of receipts like a boy showing his mother he had done his homework. After 3 months, they sat on a park bench and made a decision together. They would not stay married. There was love, but not the kind that could hold up the beams. He cried. She cried. They both apologized without trying to win. They promised to be kind. They kept the promise most days. On the hard days, they sent fewer words and more space. Valerie did not speak to me again. That is fine. Some bridges are best left as paintings. And about the other necklace, the one with the flower clasp and the words for M.I. kept it in my dresser for a while, because I was not ready to let it out of the room where I had kept the promise so long. Then, on a Sunday that smelled like cut grass and lemon peel, I took the pouch to Eleanor's new apartment. We sat on her couch with clean pillows and hope. This is not mine to keep in a drawer anymore, I said. It has a neck to live on. Elena hesitated. I'm afraid I'll drop it, or break it, or lose it. I'm afraid I'll do it wrong. You will wear it, I said. Sometimes, not to the hospital, to dinners, to remember. And if you drop it, we will fix the clasp. If you break it, we will re-string it. If you lose it, the love will still be here. I fastened it around her neck. The stones found the light and made it move on the wall. We sat very still. Sometimes quiet is the only music you need. Later, we made dinner together, arguing gently about onion sizes. We took a photo by the stove, and then another outside under the old oak tree where the light is kinder. On the table inside, beside, a bowl of lemons, the old tin from the little house sat open with the yellow blanket folded inside, ready to be touched again when grief or joy asked for it. Months passed. The Marina Fund helped a mother get a crib. Then another mother pay for. One more week at a safe place. Then a student nurse buy textbooks she couldn't afford. They sent thank you notes in different handwriting. My refrigerator became a museum of their sentences. On a Tuesday that had nothing special about it, a letter arrived with no return address. The handwriting was jagged. It said very little. It said, "I am Marcus. I am sorry. I was a coward. Thank you for telling me the truth. I will not seek you. I will try to be a better man to the people who still have me." The letter smelled faintly of tobacco and rain. Elena read it once and put it in a folder. She did not frame it. She did not set it on fire. She let it be exactly what it was, a small stitch in a big cloth. On a Friday, Ryan sent a text with a picture of a plant on his windowsill. It was alive. He wrote, "Week 16. Still alive. Me too." Elena sent a thumbs up and nothing else. Boundaries. Can be kind. Daniel and Tasha's little Raphael learned a new word every week and yelled, each one like a declaration from a balcony. One day he ran into my kitchen and shouted, "Jules," because he had heard us say the word so often that it stuck in his head. We all froze and then burst into laughter. "Yes," I told him, scooping him up. "Jules." I pointed to his chest, right there. We had a small family dinner one night. Just us. No one on a phone. No one counting money in their head. Elena stood up at the end and clinked her glass with a spoon like in the movies, then rolled her eyes at herself for doing it. "I want to say something," she said. "I never liked speeches, but I need to say this one." We looked at her. She looked back at us and then at the spot on the pantry where her childhood note still hung. "We will be okay. My family always was okay," she said, voice shaking just enough to make it beautiful. "Even when we weren't. Even when we were breaking and gluing and breaking again. We were okay because we told the truth eventually. We were okay because Mom kept promises. We were okay because Daniel stands like a tree and Tasha makes the ground soft and Raphael reminds us to laugh. We were okay because Dad said my name like a song I still hear." She touched the necklace at her throat and smiled through tears. "You stole our jewels," she said, and her voice held all the nights of this story. Was the cruelest thing anyone has said to my mother. And yet, those words opened a door. They brought me to Marina. They brought me to myself. They showed me what jewels really are. "What are they?" Daniel asked, already knowing. She pointed around the table. "Us," she said simply. "Us. And the truths we are brave enough to wear where everyone can see them. We ate flan that jiggled and shone. We washed dishes. We argued about whether a spoon counts as a fork when you're too tired to get up. I put the baby to bed. The house held us without strain. Before I went to sleep, I stood in my bedroom and looked at the small collection on my dresser. Hers watch, 5 minutes. Late as always. The photo of the lake. A plain gold ring I bought myself the year I turned 50 and realized I didn't need permission to mark the passing of time. And a small ceramic bowl where I put notes to myself by flower. Call the dentist. Breathe. On top of the bowl, I set a new note. You did the hard thing. Keep doing the kind thing. My family was not perfect. We were never going to be perfect. But we were honest now. And sometimes that is better than perfect. It is sturdier. It lets you sleep. The next morning, I woke before the sun, as I always do. I made coffee and watched the first light try the curtains. I thought of Marina in her kitchen, of the necklace catching light in another time, of a girl writing the words, "Be brave, little light." I thought of a son-in-law who had fallen and was trying, clumsily, to stand. I thought of a grandmother-in-law whose heart might still untighten someday. I thought of my children, grown and still my children, and I said a small thank you out loud to a quiet room. Thank you for the truth. Thank you for the chance to carry it well. Then I picked up my keys, kissed the daisy on the counter that Elena had left in a jar, and went to work. People would want bread. People would want sweetness. People would come in with their own little storms and leave with something warm in a paper bag. I would hand it to them with both hands, the way love should be given, the way a necklace once was, the way a life is, when you decide to tell the truth and let it shine. Epilogue. What we kept. We kept the 4M necklace. It is Eleanor's, and when she wears it, she remembers a girl named Marina who chose love over pride, and a woman named Sophia who said yes. We let go of the wedding necklace. It turned into cribs, cab fares, milk and mercy. It turned into the Marina Fund, which grows in quiet ways. We kept our house. We fixed the squeaky chair and the sticky drawer. We kept Elena's childhood note on the pantry. We added a new one under it. We are more than okay. We let go of the need to be liked by people who confuse control with love. We set boundaries. We answer phones less. We open doors more. We kept each other. That is the jewel no one can steal. And if you ask me now what I think when I hear the words, "You stole our jewels," I will tell you the truth. The only time I ever stole anything, I stole a secret to protect a child. And even that was not theft. It was guardianship. It was love with a key in its hand, standing watch in the dark until morning came. Morning came. It always does.